So welcome, everybody. I'm Keith Pidanowski. I'm an AI and Big Data Solution Specialist here at MinIO. And in case you're not familiar with MinIO, we're a high-performance object store for AI workloads. We're also used as a data lake. And if you're familiar with everything going on with big data these days, you know that data lake houses are kind of popular. We're also the back end for data lake house. So today I'm joined by Mark Clark, CEO of Parsec Labs. Hey, Mark, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, thanks, Keith. Nice to meet you. I'm Mark Clark, and I run R&D, and I am also CEO of Parsec.
Now, your LinkedIn profile also says you're a chief cook and a bottle washer.
We are a scrappy startup, so everybody wears a lot of hats.
So I want to start off picking your brain about replication. Before I do, kind of want to set the stage. Now, most engineers like myself, and I'm a survivor of too many failover and stay exercises, but we're familiar with what I'll call simple replication, where on both sides, same hardware, same software, same configuration, and they're both running in the same trust boundary. That's not what you guys have taken it to another level. With that kind of introduction, can you just take it from there and tell us what Parsec Labs does?
Well, most of us at Parsec have either designed other storage products, or we've done backup, or worked in networking, building switches. And, for a while, I took about a 10-year detour trying to find out what it was like to be a pre-sales engineer. That was very interesting, right? To kind of see what customers were looking at. And a common refrain was when you go in and you're replacing their incumbent storage and they've got a DR site, and, they will always ask, hey, can we use that over there and get some more value out of it? And the answer is typically no, right? And that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But, one of the problems we wanted to solve is let people get as much value, extract as much value out of their storage as possible. So we do, in fact, do asynchronous replication ongoing between any type of storage system. We don't care.
Okay. So what you can do is you can have two different systems, the destination be two different technologies, and you can replicate there.
Absolutely can. And, we do cryptographic hashing. So we're doing change block after that initial. So it's pretty good. And we have several customers using it.
So I could see I could see that really opening up some value in the use case. Like, so for example, you could have cheaper backup.
Oh, absolutely. Now the sales guys don't like that, but the engineers love it.
Talk a little bit more about like the disaster recovery use case. So, you're replicating to something that's, a different storage medium than the source application. What can you do in terms of disaster recovery?
We really just deal with the data itself. And so if you're looking at server failovers and all that, there's better products. But, the big problem is when you get into hundreds of terabytes or petabytes of data and hundreds of millions to billions of files, and you need that to be maybe in a totally different zone. Maybe you're in Houston and you really want a DR site in, I don't know, Oklahoma City or somewhere. You definitely need to be somewhere else. There's also, what a monoculture is in agriculture, right? Where you only grow one crop. Disease comes out and kills that crop, everything. And that can happen with technology as well, where, a particular vendor system or technology can be affected. And so you're really increasing your resiliency by maybe putting that on to something else. And in our case, it doesn't have to be taking the NFS or SMB and putting it on another standard filer. We also support doing ongoing replication to S3, which we think is very valuable.
Oh, okay. It sounds like a lot of the replication you do, it sends data. It's capable of sending data far away. So I want to talk about some of the things you do to protect data in transit.
It's just pretty standard transport layer security, right? Where we are exchanging tokens and keys, and it's all AES. So it's what you would expect. Now, if you're migrating, say, NFS, typically you're going to be on an internal network,
right?
But if you're not, we actually have our own secure protocol. So we're encrypting and flying it. You can, and some people have done it across the regular, and that can be safe as
well. The other thing that I noticed on your site was you also have data migration capabilities.
Absolutely, and that's probably how we got born. Years ago, many years ago, I ran data centers, and I understand the challenge of, man, for whatever reason, the incumbent has to go, and I got to move a lot of stuff. How do I do? When I was at Amplidata, designing some of the product outlines and architectures for, Himalaya before ACST bought, and working with our engineering team overseas, those were really big systems at the time, right? Multi-petabytes. And, the question in my mind was, what happens if this goes away, or how do people get all those billions of objects onto something new? Part of why we built Parsec.
Right. And what I find interesting about data migration is sometimes I talk to some of our customers that are looking into data consolidation. Sometimes their storage layer looks like a who's list of everybody in the data.
Right.
Right. And a lot of CTOs today are very interested in data center consolidation. With all these different technologies, it's too much management to keep them all up and running. So they're moving to like maybe a common system, like maybe a data lake house. And I could see you guys being instrumental in that, and maybe doing some initial testing and then eventually the end migration to the common platform.
It's intriguing what you said. I've seen a lot of product over the years where they're going to consolidate, and it works for 5-10 years, and then they want to not consolidate.
Right.
Our product basically puts a reverse gear, into people's decisions. So no matter what they do, they can get back out. And that's really what it's liberating people's data. So we're a data mobility solution as well as migration. But, migrations really get tough because of people, right? Permissions and windows. And so there's a whole laundry list of things you have to do. Our product, it basically just takes something pretty hard, can scale to just about any size that you can imagine, and makes it as easy as a hard job can be.
Right. And it's kind of timely. If everybody today is interested in artificial intelligence. And to me, I don't understand how you can really do effective artificial intelligence if your data is scattered across all these different data. So it's better off to just consolidate, and then you can do way better AI. You can see all the data you have.
That's interesting. And when you say AI, I'm assuming you're talking about the generative stuff primarily today, where you need to have a big learning set.
That's in the news today, generative AI here or there. But the truth is, traditional AI, good old-fashioned structured data, that's important too. So it all has to go under one roof.
Interesting. And yet, that's a application use case, but it might not support the business. And so one of the things that we thought of when we were doing backup, which, kind of boring, and I didn't think we'd have to do it, but we do, is we do have a native backup file to object within our product. So it's potential for people to use that data lake as a backup repo and yet drive business value from it at the same time. And that's a little different than other backup products because they're going to turn it into their own data.
MinIO, we're starting to do more and more work with what's known as data lakehouse. So think of a data lakehouse as one half relational data warehouse, and the other half is a data lake for all kinds of unstructured data. When you put it on the roof, you can do all kinds of interesting analysis with it, including AI ML. So if your product can get to both of those sides of the data lakehouse, that's really good.
Mm-hmm. We deal with network protocols, available storage, right? So if we can see it, we can read it, we can checksum it, we can validate it, we can copy it somewhere else, and then we can give you a report, either a full certification or a statistical verify. You get 20 billion objects. You don't want to stat 20 billion objects, but you might want a statistically significant pool. That's one of the things we do. Others don't.
You mentioned earlier that it's really easy to use your product. So Parsec Labs is an appliance. So there's no software install, no hardware to purchase. Talk a little bit about the appliance, how easy it is to use?
So you can actually download it from our website, and you can operate it as KVM. You know, we have an OVA or even QEMU or, of course, VMware. And that's the actual entire product. It's not licensed, but it does have something called Discovery, which allows you to attach to your storage devices, and it'll spit out a report on how many files you have, what's the distribution, how deep are the directories, all those sorts of things. And pretty simple. If you want to use us in the enterprise, which we're designed for, we support SNMP, multi-factor authentication for telemetry. We support policy-based access controls as well as role-based, because we deal with S3 and POSIX. It's just a single download. The caveat is we have built in a performance tester to see if your hardware that you have the VM on is going to suit the job. So if it's a smaller job, yeah, you don't have to use a lot. Typically, we recommend that people have direct attach NVMe SSD.
And the last thing I wanted to ask you about is your business model, the pricing. It's pretty much fixed cost.
That's the thing that really it intrigues people. At first, we talk to the engineers, they just saw the tech. Talk to the business people, and they realize, hey, this could be something really good, because here's one thing that you probably know and I know about customers. They don't really know how much data they have. It might be super compressed. And if they're paying per terabyte to move things around, they can get a pretty nasty surprise at the end of it when it's twice the size they thought, and they're getting charged per terabyte. We don't charge per terabyte.
And a lot of cloud vendors also charge you to access your data. I mean, egress charge, I think,
Oh, yeah.
It's just hard. They're hard to predict.
Yeah, it really is. People have been using our product for repatriation of data from big cloud S3 providers that bring them back on-prem. And I think there's a huge opportunity for us to work with MinIO on that as well.
Of course, I have to ask, Mark, how does MinIO fit into everything that Parsec Labs does?
That's a great question. At other storage companies, when we built telemetry, receive logs, deliver software, all those systems tended to fill up when it wasn't convenient. And, it was purposefully chosen to become a object store underlying our distribution, our telemetry, our phone home logs. All of our appliances have a Type 4 UUID that identifies it. They have their own buckets. So it's been really, really helpful for us, and we don't run out of space, and it's extremely reliable, and can't say enough good things about MinIO.
So that wraps up our talk today. We've been talking to Mark Clark, CEO of Parsec Labs. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.